Winter Field Day 2025 was this past January 25th and 26th. Let's take a quick look at what I did to set up for it and what particular objectives I tried to achieve. Next on A3K On The Go. Most of you are aware of the ARRL sponsored field day held in late June every single year. But a different organization sponsors Winter Field Day with the idea that the weather isn't always sunny and relatively pleasant to get out and operate your radios in the field, and sometimes you might need to do it in winter conditions. The organization of Winter Field Day is very similar but not identical to the ARRL's field day. So the objectives are different, and they've been actually changing almost every single year in the past couple of years. The big thing is to operate outdoors or not your usual ham shack and in potentially much more adverse weather conditions. This year, I decided to go portable to Tyler State Park, which also happens to be not only a Parks on the Air park, but a worldwide flora and fauna park, which is only about 15 minutes from my house. And I kind of hemmed and hawed on what I wanted to do. Did I want to set up in my camper in the driveway, or did I want to actually go out to the park? And I was a little bit confused by the forecast until I finally determined that we would have relatively mild weather this particular year. Winter has been pretty harsh here in the Mid-Atlantic and in the Philadelphia area, and several weeks of temperatures in the 20s and even colder at night. The 25th to 26th were forecast to be with highs around 35 degrees, which has been actually far warmer than we've been experiencing. However, we did have snow on the ground in the area where I set up at Tyler State Park, which included the pavilion, had a lot of snow around it, which required me to trudge through it, and which in the end limited the amount of operating time I could get in, but that was not the only reason. So my two big objectives for this year, one was to use my new power station or solar generator to operate a power supply to run my radio as well as run my computer, because I intended to get about 5 or so hours of operating in, limited only by the time that the park closed, which would be sunset a little bit after 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And my other big objective was to actually cook myself some food, though very simply, really just boil water for some ramen, just to show that I had the stove with me and that I could set up and do it in the field. I was very successful with the power station. It powered the station, my old MFJ Mighty Light power supply for the my ICOM 7300, as well as my laptop's brick power supply. And there was not a hint of RFI from the power generator. The stove, on the other hand, while it did light and did boil up some water for me, I knew I was low on butane for the stove. I know I have a couple of extra butane cylinders for that stove. I could not find them. So notes to self, make sure you have, if you need to cook in the field, make sure you have enough fuel to heat up your food. For this exercise, I set up my super antenna clone, and I had trouble tuning it on 40 meters, which is very strange. Usually it tunes up very well, especially with the 102-inch CB whip. So with that, I decided to make use of the ICOM 7300's built-in antenna tuner, which is one of the reasons I bought the radio, because it has the antenna tuner built in. I don't have to carry it as a separate device as I needed to do with my old ICOM 706 Mark II-G. I also did bring my Rig Expert antenna analyzer, but unfortunately the batteries, which were already pretty low, looked like they were taken out by the cold, so it would not power up at all. And unfortunately I did not have a USB cable in it to power the radio off of a power brick. The other things that I learned from doing this trip is while I carried everything I usually use for a POTA expedition, plus the power generator, I brought too much from my truck over to the operating position. I had brought my 32 and 100 amp hour LifePo batteries. I should have left them in the truck unless I really need them. I did bring over the Rig Expert. Turned out I didn't need that. I should have brought that back earlier to the truck. So I had, quite a bit of stuff to carry back and forth, and I did not bring that little collapsible wagon that I mentioned in my video about operating comforts in the field. So trudging back and forth between the pavilion and the truck, which was not even a minute walk, but I was going through quite a bit of snow. While I was wearing pretty good boots, they got a little bit wet, especially in the toes. And close to the end of my operating session, I started feeling quite cold down there, and obviously was concerned about frostbite. Also, as the day wore on, as it got closer to 4 o'clock, the sun was setting, it wasn't providing as much heat, it was starting to get colder, and the wind was picking up. But the end result of all of that is I did make a total of 52 contacts, 9 on phone, the rest on CW. 2 of those contacts were duplicates. So I ended up with 50 unique winter field day contacts, which was one of my other goals, to make at least 50 QSOs while I was out in the field for this. Overall setup though was not much different than what I do for most of my Parks on the Air activity, and Parks on the Air in its own right is a good training session for emergency communications. If you need to go out and get in the field, you've got antennas that you can bring portable. You've got radio you can bring portable. You've got power subsystems you can bring portable. Again, the particular reason I brought this power generator was that I could power my station for 5 or so hours without having to worry about swapping out batteries at any time. So, how did you do in Winter Field Day? Why don't you put a note in the comments below. Hey, thank you for watching. I'm Mark, AA3K, and my mission is to help you make the outdoors your ham shack. And if you got a moment, why don't you subscribe to the channel? Thanks, and I'll catch you the next time.